You know, on this channel, I love to talk about various pieces of left-wing criminal justice legislation and how they lead to obvious results, and that result being a spike in crime. One of my favorite pieces of legislation to hit over and over again is New York State bail reform law, which just lists a bunch of offenses, guarantees you a same-day automatic release if you commit those offenses, no matter how many times you do so, and I like to link them to the spikes in crime in their relative categories. For instance, one of the reasons why New York City has seen one of the largest increases in retail theft nationwide, 77% since 2020 when bail reform was signed into law, is because we're releasing repeat offenders over and over again. 327 people are responsible for a third, 1/3, 6,000 plus shoplifting arrests. And guess what? When you release a serial shoplifter same day, free of consequences, they go back to the store that same day and rob it again. In fact, New York State bail reform law is so ridiculous and absurd that Taylor Swift, one of the most famous people on planet Earth, is having to deal with the consequences of her stalker being guaranteed a same-day automatic release because stalking is a crime and not considered all that serious by New York State bail reform law. In fact, in one of those instances, the stalker left the courthouse and went right back to her apartment to stalk her again. It's insane. It's ridiculous. Imagine how somebody who's not one of the most famous people on planet Earth has to deal with stalkers. But again, that is just one piece of legislation in one state. Today, we're going to talk about what could be an even stupider, more ridiculous piece of legislation that has been proposed in the state of Washington, Olympia to be specific, because the fact that this is being considered as a solution to theft is so crazy, you wonder if leaving a mental asylum is a requirement to be a legislature in Washington state. But before we get into that, this video is sponsored, so let me toss it to the sponsor, then I'll bring it back over here and we'll talk about it on the other side. Gold has surpassed $2,100 an ounce, and recently former President Donald J. Trump warned that the U.S. losing its reserve currency status would be the greatest defeat in our 200-plus year history. Now we have conflicts breaking out in Israel, breaking out between Yemen and all over the Middle East, and all of this spells disaster for the economic outlook. On top of that, we also have an election year, and let's be honest, the incentives are to lower the interest rates. When you lower the interest rates, that incentivizes more borrowing, and guess what? There appears to be a correlation between the national debt and the price of gold. This is one of the reasons why I'm partnering with National Gold Group, because you can help secure your IRA, diversify by putting some of your money in precious metals, and right now, for those of you out there in my audience, they are offering a wonderful offer where you can get a fee waiver for IRAs for qualifying transfer. Now, if you're interested in diversifying your portfolio and protecting your investments from oncoming economic troubles, call them at 866-826-2603 and mention Actual Justice Warrior this channel so that you can get in on all the great deals for you guys out there in my audience. There is always a risk with any investment, and past performance is not necessarily a guarantee of future outcome.
The goal of city leaders is always to reduce crime, but SPD data from the last half of the year shows little improvement when it comes to property crimes.
So first off, I just want to say that I contest the assertion from the local news in the open right here. They say the goal of the city is always, trust us bro, you don't even realize, to reduce crime. However, the data does not reflect that goal. I do not believe that's the case. I do not believe that the goal is to reduce crime. I do not believe that's what they're aiming for, because if they were aiming to reduce crime, the methods that they're proposing are so stupid that I actually think the human race might be in danger. What they're actually advocating for is so insane. I actually think that everybody in this town is going to die because it's the equivalent of adding lead to the water in the hopes that you would have better health outcomes.
So what is the best policy for discouraging thieves, arsonists, and burglars, especially those repeat offenders?
Now, when somebody asks me what is the best way to deal with repeat offenders, what is the best way to deter criminality, the answer is actually quite simple. In fact, we've known this for decades in this country. lock up repeat offenders, incapacitate them, remove them from society so that they cannot continually re-offend in society. It is a simple solution, I will grant you that, but effective. It will definitely work, but there's some division among these Olympia lawmakers. They can't quite figure it out. They need an investigation, a couple of studies maybe. Maybe they need to crunch the numbers on this particular issue, because I don't know if you're aware of this. This is actually far more complicated than that workable policy that has been proven to work throughout American history, and they got something else up their sleeves. And the local news is going to present this to you, and I just want you to remember, as you're hearing this, as you're seeing the criminality and then seeing the proposed solution, that this is meant to stop the property crimes specifically. They want the property crimes to not happen, allegedly, with the proposal that they're putting forward. This is their solution, not them actively trying to enable the criminal, according to them, even though it's going to sound a lot like actively enabling the criminal.
That's right, Julie. Quite the debate. The debate over House Bill 1994 boils down to this. Should we be sending those found guilty of gross misdemeanors to jail or to a court-ordered program? And should judges be given that say over prosecutors? By far the most common property crime continues to be larceny theft. And SPT data shows neighborhoods like the downtown corridor and Capitol Hill are seeing some of the most cases.
Oh, what a great debate. Should we do what works, where we send repeat offenders to jail, remove them from society, and have them incapacitated so they can no longer reoffend? Or should we send them to a court-ordered program, some counseling, some talking to from the social workers, some people who say, hey, I don't know if you know this, adult people who obviously know stealing is wrong because this is a basic tenet of civilization, but stealing is wrong. Committing arson, not a good idea. We don't want you to do that anymore, but we're going to talk to you like you're a little baby. We're going to give you some counseling, and that's going to help you stop committing crimes. This is being debated in Olympia, Washington, whether or not that is a more workable solution than, removing them from society so that they cannot continuously reoffend.
Imagine your Ring app sends a notification. Motion's been detected.
One of them had a gun, and they came to her car window.
But who are they?
Whoa. Local news lady, relax with that who are they question, all right? That is an uncomfortable question. We don't want to address that right now. And honestly, I'm a bit disgusted that you would bring that up in this particular scenario.
They used two things that look like a crowbar.
The strangers could be seen milling about this East Capitol Hill apartment complex just 5 days ago.
They smashed and shattered her window.
A tenant you're hearing from preferred not to go on camera because they're scared for their safety.
They didn't steal anything out of her car. They just were looking.
The only thing they did steal was the residents' sense of security.
She was pretty panicked.
So what you just saw right there on video is two criminals entering a parking lot of an apartment complex and breaking out two windows of a Honda CR-V in order to potentially steal something, but there was no property in that car that was worth stealing or present for them to steal at the time, so they ended up walking away with nothing despite the attempted robbery. Now, they did cost that woman $500 potentially if she pays dealership prices for both windows, so $1,000 in damage just to get no property, and this was done in her apartment complex, so it cost her sense of security. But this is what the residents of Washington, the residents of Seattle have to deal with on a day-to-day basis because of the fact that they have gone soft on crime, and their proposal for this is to take these guys, these two gentlemen, and send them to counseling so that they can be told, I don't know if they're aware of this, that they shouldn't break out windows of people's cars. And if you're going to break out people's windows, you should at least do one window so that way you don't have to maximize the damage. Because I don't know if you're aware of this, these criminals are stupid. They're absolute idiots. They thought they were allowed to do this. That's why they snuck in the middle of the night and attempted this, because they thought this was A-OK first class all the way. And a little bit of court-ordered counseling is the solution for them.
And it's not just unsecured carports. Car prowlers are targeting.
But it's also happening in downtown Seattle's gated parking garages, like this one that people pay hundreds to park in.
I'd had my car broken into before in Seattle, and so I wanted to take some more secure measures by kind of paying for a secure spot.
This is what she came back to.
I was parked here And you could see kind of on the ground some of the glass from my back window.
So this is how insane the city of Seattle and many other left-wing cities have gotten in current year, due in large part to the Black Lives Matter riots and their effects, and progressive legislatures responding by passing soft on crime laws because we have to save George Floyd's life by allowing criminals to break into vehicles. Hallowed be St. Floyd's name. This woman had her car broken into in a regular ordinary parking spot. She thought to herself, well, since they're never going to lock up the criminal, they're never going to do anything about this, she's going to pay out of pocket extra money in order to put her vehicle in a secured parking lot. But the thing is, the lawlessness of the city of Seattle is so commonplace, it's such a standard, that even doing this didn't prevent her vehicle from being broken into. Even having a private spot in a private parking lot did not shield her from harm, so her car was broken into yet again. And again, you could charge these criminals. You could charge them with criminal trespassing for entering a private parking lot. You could charge them with a serious robbery because they're trying to break into a car. They're causing a lot of damage while they're doing so. You can use the dollar amount of the windows that they smash in order to escalate to felony charges and make sure that these repeat offenders are in prison long term. But they're not doing that in Seattle. They're going incredibly soft. They're not putting these people in jail. They're not putting these people in prison, even if they are convicted, even if they don't let the charges drop. And now they're proposing as a solution to the problem created by their soft on crime policies to go even softer on crime, to go softer on these criminals, to talk to them about how this is morally wrong and have no criminal penalty at all whatsoever.
Meanwhile, in Olympia,
sounds like we have a little bit of a disagreement here.
A bill's being debated that would allow defendants in cases like larceny theft to request a dismissal if they go to treatment or complete community service.
Yeah, that's right. They're proposing a bill right now that says if you commit these crimes, and by the way, this is regardless of how many times you committed these crimes, you can actually get the charges dismissed completely. So you're not even going to get a conviction on your record. So there's not going to be a long rap sheet so we could see these repeat offenders. If you complete counseling or community service or check yourself into some kind of rehabilitation. That's what they're proposing right now when car break-ins are already out of control, when arsons are up, when all kinds of property crime, according to the SPD's own data, are spiking right now. They want to make it easier for defendants to avoid prosecution.
This option is intended to be for folks who are struggling and cycling through the system.
Now look, I know you guys think of me as a high IQ person who mesmerizes you with my words. I'm basically an artist that is painting a picture on the tapestry that is your ears. But when I heard this person say that this proposal was for people cycling through the system, they're struggling, all I saw was red. I hate this person. I hate this legislature. I don't like them. I think they're a doo-doo head. I don't know what else to say about them other than you.
This option is intended to be for folks who are struggling and cycling through the system.
I'm so tired of hearing about how these criminals just stumbled into criminality, how they're victims of the system, how they are not agents in their own life, they're not responsible for their own actions, and for some reason we have to ignore average, hardworking, everyday people that suffer. They are victimized by these people over and over and over again. They already have to deal with the rising cost of living in a major metropolitan area. They already have to take all these extra precautions, take all their stuff out of their car, buy private secured parking spaces and all that, yet they're still being victimized. And yet you have this stupid legislator talking about how these people are just the victims, not the ones that are actually the victims, but the criminals, the people who repeatedly commit these crimes that never face consequences. And now we're getting another push to lower the consequences.
But not all committee members agreed.
If this was maybe first time or something.
Oh, the committee members agree. Oh, you know, if it's a first time, maybe second time, maybe 27th time, you know, they're just innocent angels. They're just cycling through the system. They need some counseling. They need somebody to talk to them. When they bought robbery tools and then they snuck in the middle of the night and smashed into that car and stole the property, they didn't even know that was wrong. They're basically Aladdin. They're probably doing that for their starving family. And if only we gave them more welfare, they wouldn't ruin the lives of average everyday people.
But I'm told the only thing that property crime victims care about is that this doesn't happen to them again.
It feels like there's no accountability in terms of, any repercussions.
And look, your average everyday people, they get it. They understand it. There's no repercussions. There's no consequences. That's why this keeps happening. And yet your legislatures, your representatives are talking about how we need to go even softer on them. Make it so that it's basically impossible to even charge them for a crime. And if they are charged, just get it dismissed so we could talk about our extrajudicial programs. We could talk about counseling. We could talk about community service. After these people break into 20 cars, we could put them out on the street sweeping up the glass for 10 minutes and then call it even. No, it's not even. Now, although we focused a lot on the property crime aspect of this law, you need to understand that when you go to this bill, it applies to all misdemeanors and gross misdemeanors. And it does not at all whatsoever include any specifics on the time that you would have to serve in any of these alternative to incarceration programs. Now, just so you can understand that, the list of misdemeanors that fall under this bill include assault, stalking, assault with sexual motivation, firearm offenses, and many, many more, because again, it's virtually all misdemeanors. Now, to make matters worse, it does not cover repeat offenders. So if you're repeatedly stalking somebody, if you commit misdemeanor sexual assault, guess what? You can go to these alternatives in perpetuity. To make matters even worse than that, there is no standard, like I said earlier, for how long you need to do whatever program for you to get this charge dismissed. So you could do 10 hours of community service, presumably, and that would be covered as long as the judge agrees to it. And by the way, the main driver behind this bill, the same person that I criticized earlier in this video, pictured here, thinks that the reason people commit crimes is largely due to their disabilities. So they are the victim in this person's mind. And this legislature is also under the belief that reducing the prison population will help reduce the rate of recidivism. Yeah, sure. If you don't send anybody to prison, if you never convict anybody, if you never actually count them as a criminal, then when they repeat the offense, they're not recidivisming, so you're all good in the hood, I guess.
House Bill 1994 would take the prosecutor out of the conversation in many of these misdemeanor cases, something to which the Seattle City Attorney has told us she's opposed.
Yeah, that's right. If this proposal passes, the prosecutor will have no say. Repeat offenders will be able to do 10 minutes of community service, a little bit of counseling, cry about their sad, sad life, and then the charges will be dismissed without any dispute. No matter how many times they reoffend, they are eligible for this. That is what is being proposed right now. You have rising spikes in theft, and they're trying to legalize theft. They're trying to make it impossible to get a charge to stick, let alone a conviction. It's insane, it's asinine, it's ridiculous, and I'm so tired of this nonsense permeating throughout our country. We need to reverse this immediately. These people need to be bounced from office. I know people are going to say that they voted for this and all that, but the fact of the matter is, a lot of people who voted for criminal justice reform didn't want people getting long sentences related to simple drug possession. Even though that wasn't really a thing, they never thought it was going to go this far, and now is their opportunity to reverse it. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like this video, then show me by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on all my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about an insane proposal out of Washington State. Till next time.